On the occasion of Indian Philosophers Day, the Department of Philosophy is again highly obliged to the Indian Council of Philosophical Research, New Delhi, for sponsoring this program on the occasion of Indian Philosophers Day. We have our honor and pride, privilege to have all the peers of the country with us. I extend my gratitude to our teacher, Professor G.P. Das, the governing body member of ICPR, to guide us to design the entire program. Today we have invited Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu, former head, BJP Autonomous College, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, to chair both the session of today's webinar. I welcome him. It's my honor to welcome our speakers, Sri Vijay Kumar Naik, Head, PG Department of Philosophy and Critical Thinking, Oraspur, UN College, Science and Technology, Oraspur, and Professor Dr. K. Omnaran Rao, Associate Professor, Department of Philosophy, Niranjan Government Women's College, Aska, Odisha. I welcome both the speakers to today's webinar. Friends, let us move to the welcome song based on humanity, philosophy. Indian philosophy speaks of humanity, speaks of the role of human beings in the world. Let us be silent and enjoy the philosophy of the song.
हमारे और नीयत साफ हो, काम हो अच्छे हमारे और नीयत साफ हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो। अच्छे हमारे और नीयत साफ हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो। दूसरों के दर्द में जो ढूंढे अपने दर्द को, रब भी देता है दुआएं ऐसे उस हमदर्द को। दूसरों के दर्द में जो ढूंढे अपने दर्द को, रब भी देता है दुआएं ऐसे उस हमदर्द को। बांट ले सुख दुख को जिसके दिल में ऐसी प्यास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो। गलतियाँ होती ही आई है सभी से, काम जो करता है गलती होती भी तो है उसी से। जिंदगी में गलतियाँ होती ही आई है सभी से, काम जो करता है गलती होती भी तो है उसी से। अपनी गलती जो सुधारे दूसरों की माफ हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो। प्यार देकर प्यार पाना कर्म है इंसान का, मानव है तो मानवता ही धर्म है इंसान का। प्यार देकर प्यार पाना कर्म है इंसान का, मानव है तो मानवता ही धर्म है इंसान का। भेदभाव का ना हो ठिकाना, प्रेम का निवास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो। काम हो अच्छे हमारे और नीयत साफ हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो, है वही इंसान जहाँ इंसानियत का वास हो।
Friends, let me now introduce the chairperson and speakers of today's webinar. Today, the chairperson is Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu. Prior to the lecture program, let me now present a brief introduction of Professor Sahu. Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu did his graduation in the year 1971 from Ravenshaw College and post-graduation in the year 1973 from Utkala University, securing first class first in both the examination. Having a brilliant academic career, he joined as a lecturer in government college in 1974 and retired in the year 2007 from BJP Autonomous College after serving a period of 33 years in different government colleges of Odisha. Professor Sahu is very popular in the state and nation as a rationalist and advocate of Sarvodaya thought. He has participated in a number of national and international seminars as a symposiast, sectional president, and endowment lectures in different forums and contributed research articles. To his credit, he has written more than 26 number of books on Abraham Kaur, Religion, Philosophy and Society, Beyond Religion, Sanskriti and Sarvodaya, Gandhi and Atheism in the Eyes of Foreigners, Casteism in India, and many other books which have been very popular among the Indian readers, and he has gained popularity among the students of the country. His book, Atheism in Indian Philosophy, Bharatiya Darshan Nirishwarvad, is based on logic, critical thinking, scientific temper, in philosophical reflection. Today, I welcome Professor Sahu to chair the session. Our first speaker is Sri Vijay Kumar Naik. Sri Vijay Kumar Naik is heading the PG Department of Philosophy and Critical Thinking, UN College of Science and Technology, Oraspur, Cuttack. Sri Naik did his MA from Utkal University in the year 1991 and stood as the best third position in the Utkal University. He completed his MPhil in 2002 and now pursuing his PhD study in IIT Mumbai under the supervision of Professor Ratikant Panda. Sri Naik has organized many state level and national level seminars under the leadership of Professor G.P. Das. Professor Sri Vijay Kumar Naik has made all the programs conducted in his college successful. Sri Vijay Kumar Naik has edited 2 books, and the books are co-edited by him. The books are on media ethics and morality and human rights and good life. Sri Naik is a member of ethical committee in Swami Vivekananda National Institute of Rehabilitation Training and Research, at the head of the Department of Philosophy of Oraspur UN College. Sri Naik, as an ideal teacher, organizer, has conferred with different awards, particularly the award and felicitation on from Abhiram Saraswata Parishad. I welcome Professor Naik to this seminar, to this webinar. Today, he will speak on the concept of Smriti in Jaina philosophy reflection. Let me now introduce our second speaker, Professor Dr. K. Umnaran Rao. Dr. K. Umnaran Rao is presently working as Associate Professor of Philosophy in Niranjan Government Women's College, Aska, Odisha. Having a brilliant academic career, Dr. Rao did his master's degree and MPhil degree, master degree in Utkal University and MPhil degree in the University of Delhi. After that, Professor Rao obtained his doctoral degree from Sambalpur University on the topic an analytical approach to the concept of reality.
Good morning, sir.
After being staffed for 1.5 years in Punjab National Bank as a professional officer, he joined Odisha Education Service in the year 1999 as an assistant professor in philosophy in GM College, Sambalpur. Now currently, Professor Rao is working in Niranjan Government Women's College, Aska. To his credit, Dr. Rao has authored 13 books which have been very popular among the students of logic and philosophy in the state and the country. I don't want to reflect upon all the books that he has published. All his books have gained popularity among the students in UG and PG level. Due to paucity of time, it is not possible to reflect upon all his books. Being a brilliant scholar in philosophy, Professor Rao has participated in a number of national and international seminars and workshops where his research articles have been published I welcome Dr. K. Umdaran Rao to this webinar. Today he will speak on the topic, Is Man Mortal? With this, once again, I welcome all the viewers of the country to be connected with us, and I request Professor Dhaneshwar Rao Sahu to chair the session. Over to Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu. Sir.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, audible, sir. Audible, sir.
Esteemed Dr. Maharana, HOD Philosophy, Balugang College, and esteemed his colleagues, to respected paper presenters, Mr. Bijay Kumar Naik and Dr. Onnaran Rao, my friends, colleagues, and dear students. It gives me great pleasure to be in your midst. I am very happy that I will be able to learn something from the deliberations. Mr. Bijay Kumar Naik, as already introduced by Dr. Maharana, will speak on Jaina concept of Nirutta. Perhaps this topic is something new to me, and I hope I will be enlightened by his talk and the discussions. And then we have a second speaker, Dr. Onnaran Rao. He is very popular among our friends. Dr. Rao will speak on a common theme, Is Man Moral? And he will have his reflections on this topic. As we all know that morality has evolved in society in a process of socialization, because man lives in a society with others, so he requires some moral values. We will learn from them. I will request each presenter to present his views in 50 minutes, and there will be discussion for 10-15 minutes, and so that we can conclude the session in the scheduled period. Now, I welcome and convey my greetings to all my friends and who are present here, and all friends are free to put their questions after the deliberations. Now, I request Mr. Bijay Kumar Naik to present his paper. Mr. Naik.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar to all the participants, teacher. I feel honored being invited by the national webinar organized by the Department of Philosophy of Balugang College. I am thankful to the organizer, Dr. Kailash Chandra Maharana, head of the department, Philosophy, Balugang College, and the principal of the college. I also express my gratitude to Professor G.P. Das, who is the man behind the scene, as reported by Professor Maharana. And I am really honored that I am going to present a paper under my teacher, Professor Dhaneshwar Sahu. I do not know to what extent I will give justice to the paper, and to what extent participants will get benefit from it. Still then, I humbly request you all, the participants and teachers, if your questionnaire session would enlighten me to highlight on some other points. With these words and soliciting your cooperation in all forms, I am going to present the paper, that is the concept of Sanruta of Jainism. It is a reflection on the concept Sanruta, which stands for truth. Let me read out what I have reflected on the concept. In this paper, my humble attempt is to reflect on the concept of Sanruta or truth from the holistic standpoint of Jainism. It is an ethical virtue. It is not Ruta but Sanruta. In the Rig Veda, Ruta stands for the truth, Satyam. In Satapatha Brahmana, it is identified with Dharma. The Upanishads declare it as truth. Alone conquers and not falsehood. Almost all the schools of Indian philosophy more or less stress the concept of a truth as a cardinal principle of morality, as it bears both individual and social good. Speaking truth is not the only virtue of self-culture, but an indispensable factor for social progress. It is to honor the dignity of the personality of the speaker and the listener, to whom the truthful statement is meant, irrespective of caste, creed, culture, and gender. But in Jainism, it seems that the concept connotes a wider meaning than mere confinement to the speech. It stands for, truth stands for accuracy in words, thought, and deeds. It stands for integrity and genuineness. Truthfulness is an outcome of a critical but not dogmatic approach. A dogmatic approach vitiates truthfulness. It springs from one who is free from anger, greed, and fear. Non-violence is the basis of truthfulness. Jainism recommends that right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct are the three essential paths to self-realization. Realization of the pure consciousness is the ultimate goal of Jiva. It is called moksha or liberation. It is the summum bonum of life. Morality is nothing but the realization of four infinite qualities: Ananta Jnana, Ananta Darsana, Ananta Virya, Ananta and Ananta Ananda, inherent in the soul. That means Jiva is capable of realizing infinity even though it is couched in the matter. Due to the infiltration of karma matter to the soul, these qualities remain obscure. Jiva, forgetting its nature due to ignorance, acts as the force of acts by the force of passions and gets ensnared. To overcome such bondage, these three paths must go together. One without the other is incomplete. These are popularly known as Tri Ratna. Right faith is the faith or firm belief in the teachings of Tirthankaras or Jaina scriptures. It stands for the faith free from doubt about scripture, nisankita, desire for worldly pleasures, nikankita, absence of doubt about the attainments of spiritual path, nirvichikitsa, no confusion about the ideal, amudha drishti, absence of highlighting one merit and concealing the demerit of others, upagrahana or upagrahana, re-establishing those who deviate from truth, sthitikarana, developing the sense of brotherhood towards the followers of the right path, vatsalya, and preaching the importance of truth through charity, austerity, devotion, profound learning, and by such means that are suited to the time and place. The first 5 characteristics belong to the individual life, and the last 3 pertain to social life. In this sense, it is not an item of imagination, it is a matter of the progress of self-culture and the culture of the society. Right knowledge is the knowledge of the self. It is the outcome of the resulting outcome of the removal of knowledge obscuring karmas, jnana varani. In other words, it is the knowledge of the discrimination between self and the not self. A right conduct consists in the observance of 5 disciplines which are called Panchabratas. These are Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, and Aparigraha. Ahimsa stands for non-injury to one in thought, word, and deed. It is the basic ethical principle of Jainism, as all other principles are corollaries of it. My cup of tea is to ponder over the questions: what is truth? Is it a report of the fact, an agreement with the reports of others, or a matter of practical affair? Is it to be disclosed by any means before all, irrespective of time, space? Is a truthful person concerned with? Can anybody be truthful? The truth expressed in words and statements is the presentation of a thing as it is. It is the true expression with good and pleasant. It is an expression with moderation rather than exaggeration and restraint. One's expression must not involve garrulity, vulgarity, whimsicality, and denigration. While expressing the truth, the speaker must be cautious about the time, space, and personal account. The speaker of the truth must not hurt the person to whom the speech is intended. Truthfulness must not breed anger, fear, pain, enmity, grief, quarrel, anguish in the minds of the person. In other words, it is different from hurtful speech. Truth is different from hurtful speech. A truthful speech is also different from reprehensible and sinful speech. A reprehensible speech includes backbiting, harsh, unbecoming, nonsensical, and anti-canonical speech. A sinful speech includes speech that prompts piercing, cutting, biting, stealing, and killing. Any sort of speech that causes violence is considered as untruth. But in case of speeches that prompt one for plantation, plowing, trading, digging of ponds, and so on, are allowed for a householder, even though it kills lives living in the water and earth. These are good actions or shubhopayoga, though not perfect. Shuddhopayoga. The question is, why such type of actions are good and recommended for a householder? Such actions are good as it leads to happiness, liberality, and greedless. It leads to happiness in the sense that it makes the individual and the society happy, or the individual and the society get benefit from such type of activities. These actions do not abet but affirm the struggle of the householder to realize the infinite qualities. In other words, these are the preparatory grounds for final liberation. Thus, morality, according to Jainism, can be viewed both from the practical and transcendental standpoint. A practical morality is one which is meant for the household, and a transcendental morality
But it is not audible. No,
I am not able to hear anything.
Vijay, you are not audible. Vijay, Bubble, are you there? Babul, are you there with Vijay Kumar Naik? Hello? Why it is not audible? Hello? Okay, okay. Yeah, actually, he faces some technical problem. He has left and he will come. We'll wait. Vijay? Hello, wait. Vijay? 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 Vijay?
Hello.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, continue. Because
Sorry, sir.
because of some technical problem, we left. Okay.
Sorry for the technical problems. Sorry.
Okay.
Um,
Continue.
Okay. The point is that morality is a matter of, no doubt, practical life, and it is a matter of this world. It is not a matter of other world. Jainism doesn't deny such possibility, such aspect. It holds that, yes, one is required to realize pure consciousness, which is of the nature of four infinite qualities. But stringent means is not or cannot be practiced by the householders. For them, there is some relaxation provided or recommended in Jaina scriptures, that one can also, is a common man, a man of, I mean to say that a man who is an aspirant for a good life can practice all these five principles together. It is not one by one, rather it is in a simultaneous way. Happiness is also, happiness or good is identified with morality, as well as perfection is identified with morality. So we can view morality from two standpoints, from the common man, standpoint of the common man, and from the standpoint of monkhood. The question is why such types of shubhopajogo, what I have said, actions are good and recommended for a householder. Such actions are good. It leads to happiness, liberality, and greenlessness. Perhaps I have already told such things. Thus, morality according to Jainism, okay. A practical one is meant for the householder, and the transcendental one is meant for the monk. Truth is not misrepresentation, non-representation, and false representation. To represent a thing as something else is known as misrepresentation. Denial of the existence of a thing concerning its position, time, and nature is non-representation. And asserting the existence of a non-existent thing concerning its position, time, and nature is a false one. These are regarded as untruths by Jaina traditions. Truth and untruth do not go together. truth and untruth, but in our practical life, we mix up truth with the untruth. But Jainism warns that such type of activities which vitiates one's eating integrity can be classified under 4 heads. These are Satya Satya, wholly true. Wholly true means absolute true. Jainism says nothing is true absolutely. Everything should be taken into consideration from their standpoints. I mean to say that there is no truth which is something metaphysical. Another one is Asatya Satya. Asatya Satya means intermixture of truth and falsehood, where falsehood predominates. Satya Satya, it stands for intermixture of truth with falsehood, in which the former being or truth is predominant. Asatya Satya, wholly false. These constitute the untruth as enunciated in Jainism. And all untruth necessarily involves violence, for it is caused by negligence, which is the backbone of violence. It is unthoughtful speech out of anger, greed, fear, and jesting. Truthfulness consists in avoidance of sudden calumniating. Sahasa Vyakhyana. Truthfulness. Sahasa Vyakhyana. Disclosing others' secret. Raho Vyakhyana. Divulging the confidence of one's wife. Swadara Mantraveda. False advice. Mrusopadesho. Writing false statements or forgery. Kutalekha Karana or Kutalekha Kriya. In addition to this, the Digambara tradition provides avoidance of false preaching, Mithopadeshodana, breach of trust, Nyasapahara, and disclosing one's secret purpose, Sakara Mantraveda. Samantabhadra considers calumny, Vaishunya, and reproach, Parivada, and false evidence, Mudha Sakhi Padukti, as contrary to the truth. Let me analyze what is Mithyapadeshodana. According to Chamundaraya, it stands for such advice that is detrimental to the attainment of liberation or heaven. Asodhara explains it as which causes suffering, Mithopadesha, which causes suffering to others and shows the methods of winning in a dispute by dishonesty. Rahu Vyakhyana, it consists of divulging secret actions of men and women. Kutalekha Kriya or Kutalekha Karana, it means alleging in writing what was not said or done by someone. It is, so to say, Mithyarupa. Aropo or allegation in a false way. Nyasapahara, it means dishonesty about the deposit of a person. In other words, it is taking the advantage of one's forgetfulness in connection with the deposit of money. Sakara mantra bheda, it means divulging the intention of a person as inferred from his facial expressions. A truthful person is a man of critical aptitude. What from the concept of a truth, it is obvious that a truthful person is a man of critical aptitude, not of complex aptitude. He is concerned with reason, intellectual honesty, and open-mindedness, as opposed to blind emotionalism, intellectual laziness, and close-mindedness. Considering a variety of possible viewpoints and explanations, taking the effects of motive and biases, a truthful person takes a decision and acts accordingly. He is concerned with finding the truth, not the right. Truth is different from right, because a practice may be considered right if it obeys, if it is approved by a society, even though it is immoral. For example, casteism is taken as a paradigm for determining the status of human being in some societies. In that society, from that standpoint of view, that sort of behavior, untouchability, is a virtue. It is right from that standpoint, but Jainism would not accept. It would say that it is not right that matters, rather it is truth that matters. Though he comes across with ordinary views regarding the truth based on prejudices, though he comes across with the ordinary views regarding the truth, I mean right, based on prejudices, yet he does not allow them to pass one's judgment. Truthfulness is a skill not to think anything in binary ways. Very often, we think either in terms of yes or in terms of no, either in terms of objective manner or in terms of subjective manner. Either we take the resort of origin, or we take the resort of emotion. But Jainism says, very nicely it says that no, emotion is to be taken into consideration, but with some rational ground. Without reason, without rationality, no sort of emotions, blind beliefs to be taken into consideration. So anything should not be considered in binary ways. It must be judged from various standpoints. As the theory of Jaina theory of reality is known as Anekantavada. Reality is multidimensional, it is multifarious. Accordingly, our judgments are also multifarious. We have somehow, a statement is somehow true, not absolutely true. True from the standpoint of true from a particular standpoint. So it is to reflect on one's prejudices and biases, and hence a truthful person is a judge of himself. He is also critical. He is also self-critical, not only critical of others, but also self-critical. He analyzes himself as well as the others on the same parameter. It is an appreciation of others' way of looking. The very nice point, the very important point, that it is an appreciation of others' way of looking at things. It makes us aware and sensitive to emotions and needs of others. Truth, therefore, must be beneficial and helpful, not bad and harmful, for the realization of one's infinite capacities, either for a good life or a happy life or a perfect life. A truthful person is a person with a holistic vision. With this, I conclude my paper on Sanruta. Sanruta, that is the holistic vision of truth of Jainism, which is very practical in our life. With these words, I remain, and I am thankful to all the participants and the chair for giving me this opportunity to read out or to present my view on this concept without any flaws and without any technical problems from your side, sir.
Sir, so over to Dhanesh.
Hello. Hello. Thank you, Mr. Bijay Kumar Naik, for presenting such a comprehensive view of Jaina ethics, particularly the Jaina concept of truth, or as I understand the idea of Sanruta. You have done a good homework in presenting this concept from multi-dimensional point of view, how the Jainas use the concept Sanruta in different ways, and what is the implication of Jaina morality concerned with the idea of truth. As you have said, it has a practical dimension, so also it has a transcendental implication as well. So for the practical dimension is concerned, how truthfulness should guide our practical commerce of life in day-to-day affairs. And so for the transcendental implication of it is concerned, we must aspire for some higher values of life, or as they call, a type of perfection or achievement of the Triratna. So, and you have also very nicely expressed how truth must be based on reason, and it must be self-critical as well. This idea that what we think, what we say, what we write, or what our views must be governed by a spirit of rational thinking. We should be free from blind adherence to some ideas, or that means we should not be very close-minded. Our mind must remain free, and there should not be any preconceived idea guiding our reflections. So if we become free, we have a free mind, then only we can judge something, we can evaluate something from a rational perspective. I enjoyed your talk. I learned this idea of Sanruta. This concept was something new to me, but you related it to the concept of a Jaina concept of a truth, and then you brought up ethical implications of the concept of a truth, and also highlighted its practical as well as transcendental implications. So now the paper is open for a discussion. I request my friends, I do not know who are present and who are not, because I am very novice in handling all these things, and I cannot know who is asking a question. So I request Maharan Babu, he will regulate this. In case I fail to know who is asking the question and who are present. Now the paper is present, open for discussions and observations or reflections of my esteemed participants. Thanking you.
Professor Ranjit Kumar Ghosh.
Ghosh.
Sir, unmute you.
Yes. Now I'm audible, I think. Now, this Sanruta, this concept, as my friend Dhanasar has said, this is also new to me. So, one thing I think that in this concept, Ruta and Sanruta. Ruta is something which is objective. Okay, but in Jainas, they don't maintain this sort of objectivity of truth. Rather, they are making, like Nietzsche, a perspectivistic theory of truth. That means truth is like a perspective, because they are believers in Anekantavada. So, for that reason, probably they have made two dimensions of it. One is for the householders, the commoners, and there the pragmatic aspect of truth can be maintained. But for the arhats, or those who are the liberated souls, for them this sort of pragmatic approach towards truth will not do. So what actually Sanruta, does it have both dimensions, the objective as well as pragmatic? This is what I want a clarification from you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Naik.
Thank you, Sir Ranjit sir, for your good question. Whether it is objective or subjective, or it is both. The point is that Sanruta, it is truthfulness or truth. That is from truth. Truth is one. So it is objective in the sense that truth is one because it helps one to realize our infinite capacities. That infinite capacities means capacities of four qualities: infinite depth, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite power. In this sense, it is objective. And your next question is whether Sanruta helps one to realize Ruta in the objective sense or not. Yes, Sanruta stands for Shubhopayoga. Shubhopayoga means good actions, which is meant for the householder. And a good action is one which makes one to realize the higher stage. I mean to say that it is transcendental state. So, in this sense, it is we can say that it is an approach. Shubhopayoga or good actions or actions that breeds happiness, that breeds liberality, that leads openness. That is a stepping stone to realize the ultimate truth, that is infinite capacities of a jiva. So this is my submission.
Vijay Babu, one point comes to my mind. Usually in philosophical discourse, we take truth as an epistemic concept. Truth is the characteristic of a proposition. We say a proposition is true or it is false. But very often, truth is related with moral issues. Truth is, Gandhi said, truth is God, relating truth to some transcendental reality. So in this way, truth has been used differently. And do you consider these things, these usages are only prescriptive or they have some descriptive implication? Descriptively, truth is a characteristic of a proposition. So that is the descriptive significance of truth, and it is mostly used in epistemology. But when we relate truth with ethics, we relate truth with some transcendentalism, we relate truth with practical aspect of life, transcendental aspect of life, metaphysical aspect. So are we making different prescriptions of truth? What is your observation?
No, in this connection, I want to add another thing, because you have said that truth is not misrepresentation, false representation, or non-representation. If these things all taken together, then truth itself becomes objective. So, because whatever you are presenting, it is an objective one. So, this is related to Professor Sau's question. So, you can answer it in that way.
Sir, really, I feel myself proud that my teachers are encouraging me to answer such questions. Really, I am thankful to you, sir. Yes, truth is an epistemic concept. It is a property of a judgment, all right. But truth is also a principle of morality. It is a virtue. It is a kind of virtue. And your question is, sir, truth has different dimensions. It can be used from epistemic standpoint, from metaphysical standpoint, and others. But here, what I want to highlight is that, no doubt, truth is a property of a judgment. It is related to words, all right. But Jainism emphasizes that truth is related to words, meaning thereby it is to represent what a thing as it is. It is not to represent a thing what it is not. Meaning thereby, it is to present an objective truth in terms of truthfulness, to realize the truth in terms of truthfulness, in terms of different perspectives of, or in terms of truth speeches, truth speech or truthfulness, not only in what Jainism says, truthfulness for a good society, for a good life, what is needed today, not only representation of truth as it is, but while representing, it must be in a moderate way, it must be pleasant, wholesome, and good. Otherwise, it will hurt others. So, violence, what Jainism says, ahimsa is the basic ethical principle from which all others stem. So, in a non-violent one, we can compare it to Gandhi also here. Truth, according to Jainism, is implies truth or truthfulness implies that one must be one must not only in words, but must be in thought and deed. I mean to say that truthfulness implies that one should be loyal, one should be true, one should be accurate to oneself also. To oneself, that means one should be critical of one's own attitude. That will lead him to realize the truth objectively. So, from the standpoint of speech, from the standpoint of thought, from the standpoint of deed, one should be truthful. So, this is my submission.
Thank you. Well explained. Any other question?
Truth is both relative as well as absolute. Truth is relative from the standpoint of practicality, but from the standpoint of transcendental standpoint, truth is absolute in the sense that it is not one. It is absolute in the sense that it will help. Truth in practical life will help to reach at the realization of infinite possibilities that is within us. This is the objective truth, and these are the principles, these are the means to realize that truth. So any speech, any activity that leads to self-realization, whether you may say at the level of high shoulder or at the level of monkhood, or that is transcendental level, any sense, truth is necessary, or truth is our goal. Right? Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Now I answer this on your behalf. What you actually want to say, that the elephant. Please mute. Okay. In Jaina system, there is a very famous example of the elephant and the description of elephant. Who is describing the elephant? The 5 blind men, and these 5 blind men represent the common man. Okay, but you want to say that the reality is both, the truth is both absolute and relative. It seems to understand that yes, the elephant is there. Elephant is there. It is the absolute truth. The elephant as such is there. It is the absolute truth. But we people, we ignorant people, we are blind. Blind means we are limited. We cannot describe that elephant as such. We are describing the elephant as we perceive the elephant. So the elephant is there. Elephant is not an imagination. Elephant is not a dream. The elephant is there. So truth is there as the absolute reality. And when we are trying to describe the truth, we are giving our only partial judgment from our perspectives. So in that sense, we can say that the truth is both absolute and relative. Relative from the standpoint of our judgment, absolute from the standpoint of its own stand. Do you say that or not?
No, my view is not exactly that.
Yes.
Not exactly that. My point is that Ruta and Samruta means holistic vision of the aspirant. I mean to say that truth, as Professor Sahu has told, that speech is not truth is not confined to speech, words or statements only. Truth is also confined to one's personality, that is expressed in terms of one's thought and action. That must be that there must be integrity among the thought, word and deed. This integrity must help one to realize the infinite capacities of a jiva or a person. My standpoint is this, Pramod sir.
আচ্ছা
It's not that what is the status of human capacity? Human capacity is infinite. There are different levels of consciousness.
That is true. That is true.
What is the truth? Whether
That
truth
is true.
whether truth is
Pramod, truth is that. That is true. That we have infinite capacities. We can rise above the mundane, the common life, and we can realize ourselves as we are.
so you describe that truth is a human infinite capacity.
Yeah, right.
আচ্ছা all right. We will Pramod Babu, have you any other question? If any friend has any other question, then they can discuss it with Vijay Babu. And now it is time, and we will close this session, and we will switch over to the other speaker. As we all know that there is Dr. Onnarayan Rao, and he will speak on the concept each man moral. And I do hope that this will be more interesting, and this will, because morality is concerned with human life, human society, so it will have more practical or pragmatic implications. So to what extent we can be moral, or is morality something innate to human life, or morality is acquired? Then can there be any limitation to a moral value, or moral values can be taken as absolute, as this question has been raised also in this context. Now, so as I understand, in a process of socialization, moral values come. And if man will not live in the society, then morality will have no meaning. But man has to live in society, so morality is a sine qua non of our social existence. Anyway, I would now request our good friend Dr. Onnarayan Rao to present his paper. Over to Dr. Rao. Over to Dr. Rao.
Namaskar everybody. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Yes. Respected Principal Madam,